Yahoo! Welcome back. Today we're going to look at another game I've played. Today we want to focus on tempo, and we will see how a single tempo can drastically tip a game in one player's favor. We've discussed this a bit last time, thinking about attacking and defending tempo and carefully assessing the correct position. As always, we're not going to go over every single move. I'm just going to highlight some of the key positions. Alright, we were starting as center here, and as usual, when I play center, I played the Ureshino U. We have some normal development, always putting the silver here for eventually attacking here with the Ureshino U. Starting to open up our rook line. He naturally defends with the bishop, not allowing us to break through easily. We prepare the silver general to eventually push on this file, which apparently my opponent saw coming, and he plays a third rank rook this time, trying to put a lot of pressure here. It's I'm not sure if this is already okay to play tempo-wise, because he is blocked by a lot of things and we haven't attacked it yet, and all of the 9th rank here is still undeveloped. But generally, yeah, playing a third file rook is certainly a good defending idea here. We develop our other silver just to make sure that once we trade up some paces that there's no annoying drops here, because the silver is definitely going to move forward, leaving the space undefended in the future. He starts to castle. We just open the 9th file there. He continues to castle, and we also play some developing moves to keep safe. Developing our knight as we try to build up an attack on the side here. And he's finishing his castling. This is the Minogako castle, which is really strong from attacks from the horizontal line, and considering that we're attacking here, this is a wise choice, because these two defend each other, and once the other gold comes here, there's a really nice defending wall, and if we somehow break through somewhere here, then this is going to be well defended. We open our bishop, potentially trying to put more pressure here. This pawn is a bit more dangerous now. He finishes the full castle, and we just continue developing, keeping our king safe. We saw an example in one of the last games where we did not concern ourselves with the king safety whatsoever, and got checkmated with tempo after that. I have to be careful. And so far, this is a very balanced position. No player has really committed to any attack yet. You can see I still haven't pushed any pawns here, making sure that my pieces are all already ready to join the fray if necessary. And he does the same. And in this position, I was not really confident that I could just break through here easily. So I just developed my rook, making sure that after we trade a little bit, that there's no annoying silver drop here, and also with some idea of, like, once I push this pawn, to have the rook on the 3rd file here as well. And my opponent starts to push the side lane here. Now the idea is very interesting. We take here, he takes back, we take, and he develops with tempo on our rook. I think that was his idea here. So, nice. However, after he recaptures, we do not recapture immediately, and instead choose to push our pawn. And this is very important because, sure, our lands here is completely undefended, but he has no time or no tempo to take it. First of all, he would just have a promoted gold here, not being close to anything, not threatening anything, while at the same time, if our pawn pushes through here, attacking both these pieces at the same time, this is quite dangerous. So my opponent does not capture here smartly and instead decides to recapture with the bishop. And this might be a small mistake. If you recapture with a pawn here, at least you have some defender, because we are able to use that to recapture now. And once he recaptures, which he does, attacking our rook. However, we can say that on the third rank, this pawn is now undefended, allowing us to promote our rook, attacking his rook, which is defended, unlike the silver here, but we're basically hitting two undefended pieces here. So if we go back to this position, a pawn recapture here would have probably been wise. Sure, we get the lands, but you still do not allow my rook to promote. Promoted rook is always, of course, very dangerous. However, this is what transpired, and here my opponent decided to drop lands to attack my rook, also defending this piece because it's blocked. However, there's not really any danger for us here because we can just capture the silver for free, now attacking his rook. And he has no time, no tempo to develop anything here yet. He offers us a rook trade. And if we take here, he will take back with a bishop, and we lose our promoted rook. And then it would be kind of an equal position because he has his open file, and we don't have any immediate threats. Therefore, I'm not really interested in trading rooks here, right? So what other move can I play? Well, taking the pawn here is not really wise. Taking this pawn is not really wise. Taking the rook, as we just discussed, is also not necessarily in our favor. So we just play a very calm move, just capture the small pawn here, getting our rook out of the way. And he would certainly have some interest of potentially dropping maybe a pawn here, getting our rook away from these dangerous squares. Instead, he opts to just take our knight. Our king, since we moved here, is still relatively safe, and I'm not sure if my opponent did not calculate correctly. We do play with a 10-minute time control, so he might have had a little bit of time pressure here, because I think at this point he only had like 5 minutes left. But this is of course the point where we take over the game, because with a calm recapture here, we basically got a bishop for a knight. A bishop is a much stronger piece, and he didn't get anything in return. There's no active tempo here, which could annoy us. There's a move he will play next, which is okay. Attacking both our silvers at the same time. We cannot recapture here, but attacking the silvers, like this kind of fork, and sacrificing a bishop for that, not necessarily the best line. Not always, when you try to play moves, think about what you will gain and lose. And in that case, my opponent did not do that. We just continue pressuring up here. We're again threatening his rook. And he decides to capture here using the fork. And now, based on what we discussed in previous videos, we have to be a bit careful here. There's always the attacking and the defending tempo, and correctly recognizing where you're at is very important, because in this position it looks like we get a free rook and have a really strong attack here, which is true. However, if we were to take this rook, we would allow him to capture our gold here, and with another gold in hand, a turn after this would be checkmate, because our king is a little bit boxed in. So that would be a bit dangerous, so don't get over greedy and just trying to capture as many pieces as possible. Calmly retake, making sure there's no attack on our king. And he now recognizes correctly as well that now he has to get the rook out of danger. And we are obviously a lot stronger here. We have a promoted rook, we have way more pieces in hand, including a bishop. So we're pretty happy with our position here, right? Now, we have to come up with a new plan to attack. Our king is at least kind of safe. I mean, if he had a rook to drop, that would change that drastically, but he does not. So how do we continue from here? We have our bishop, possible to join the fray. But if we look at the line, there's not really, he can't promote taking this piece. It's a bit unfortunate. This also blocks our bishop from taking here. His rook is defending that, but we also follow our rook, so we can't really attack this piece either, unless we take here first, which would be a bit slow. So instead, we just capture the knight. With 2 knights in hand, we have some nice attacking ideas, potentially dropping some knights down this line to attack the king. He goes for an attack, opening up the square, which might be impossible to defend later, if he's not careful. We just calmly retreat our gold general. Again, you don't want to give your pawn 3 pieces, even if you're on the attack. And now he starts pushing a pawn here, because it's not defended. But there's not really any urgency for us to be too worried about that. We can just calmly take back here. There's no piece recapturing here. The line of the king is a bit open. If his rook was here, for example, this could be a bit dangerous. Alas, he is not. And he continues to threaten our king with attacks. If you look at the hand, you can see he has no other pieces except for pawns to drop. So we're pretty safe. However, we just calmly take here and start the attack with one of the aforementioned knights. Now, we had a similar position here before, where I was pointing out that we don't want to get boxed in and checkmated in 2 turns. However, there's a crucial difference, and that is that his gold is now here instead of here. Because if the gold was here, this would be checkmate. He drops the gold here, or we checkmate. Now, that is not the case. So he would have to spend an extra turn to prepare that potential checkmate. However, with our knight drop here, we actually threaten him, so he has no time to commit another move on the attack. He drops a pawn here to make it impossible for me to drop anything there. However, we're just happy to open up this line and threaten the king. We also have our rook ready to join the fray if necessary. He tries to threaten our knight, and we can just push through here. He captures our knight, but this is of course not a good play in terms of tempo, because we just get to check the king for the rest of the game now. If you like, you can pause the video and see if you can find any of the checkmate patterns here. But him pushing his pawn here, taking our knight, allowing us to drop something here, and his king has no way to escape to any way there, so we just drop a silver. He retreats his king here, which results in checkmate immediately. I mean, in this position, he's gonna get checkmated quickly anyway. This was just the fastest way for me to do it, because after the silver drop, these two defend each other, and he has nowhere to go, resulting in a checkmate. Now, instead of moving the king here, he could of course have taken as well, but after we promote, he has nowhere left to go. He can't go here, he can't go here. If we go here, here, or here, any of these will result in us dropping a silver there for a checkmate as well. So with this game, I wanted to showcase that we really need to be careful when we try to attack our opponent. Again, we talked about this last time, and making sure that we only attack if we have the tempo to do so. And yeah, hopefully you've learned something from that. Always make sure that you are aware of your king's safety or potential attacking patterns as well. And thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.